Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. WTA review for the US Open 2022. We're going to get into it. We're going to really get into it. We're going to, of course, talk about the champion, Iga Swiatek, winning her second Grand Slam of the year, her third in total. The world number one, really cementing her place at the top of the sport. And she continues to dominate as she has done so throughout the year. We'll also be talking about the runner-up, Ons Jabeur, and not just the two players that made the finals, but a whole host of other players, looking at whether they exceeded expectations, met expectations, or potentially even undelivered, which I'm sure there's going to be quite a few players who under-delivered as well. In addition to that, I'm going to be talking about what we've learned from this US Open, from the women's side especially, and we'll get into that as well. Before we get into it, though, I'll say get into it a lot of times, just there, I'm pretty sure. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you are new, and also leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Okay, let's start. So, the best place to start is with the champion, Iga Swiatek from Poland, 21 years of age, just completely proving anyone who doubted her wrong for this US Open title win. Her previous best result of the US Open was the fourth round, so that's why I think a lot of people were looking at this thinking, can she really go on to win this title? Because, yes, she won the semi-finals at the Australian Open earlier this year, but she got, in other words, I wouldn't say she got destroyed, but she got comprehensively beaten by Danielle Collins on the day. Wimbledon, of course, made the fourth round, is her best finish there as well. Made the third run at Wimbledon, losing, has had a couple of losses since then, but nothing of like massive shock. It's just she wasn't playing as dominantly as she was in that 37 match unbeaten streak. I mean, how incredible was that? When, of course, she won Roland Garros as well, including a whole host of other tournaments, including some hardcourt Masters tournaments as well. So she came into the US Open in some people's eyes as a slight favorite. In others, they were thinking Simona Halep. Talking about Simona Halep, we may as well very, very briefly talk about her. Of course, losing her first round match at the US Open, a massive disappointment for her. And look, a lot of people had her as their potential winner, and she'd come into it after winning in Canada. Ended up not playing Cincinnati because she had a little bit of some trouble. She just had some trouble, really, when it comes to Cincinnati and her fitness. And then she played the US Open, lost to Snigger in 3 sets. Did manage to bagel her in the middle set, in the second set, but apart from that, it was just not good from a Simona Halep fan point of view. What I would also say is that, it just shows the depth as well to the women's tour, of course, but she'll be disappointed, of course, she'll definitely be disappointed anyway to lose in the first round. She did talk about she's been struggling with nose problems and like breathing through her nose. So that could have contributed to it. So I know she's having some sort of surgery. So wishing her a quick recovery, of course. But back to Iga Swiatek. Look, at 21 years of age, the sky's the limit. And after her victory over Ons Jabeur in straight sets, she said that she doesn't know how far she can go, but she's not limiting herself. She is very excited. She's very confident. She knows that, you know what, I am the dominant player on tour. People are starting to feel intimidated by me. I am playing the best tennis on tour, and I'm only improving. So there's some scary anecdotes or thoughts or little bite-sized tidbits for you guys who might be fans of other players on the women's tour. Well, at the moment, she's not looking like she's going to slow down anytime soon. She's only 21 years of age, and she's continually improving for sure. I think the most impressive thing was that the US Open being a hardcore, it was not a clay court tournament. A lot of people thinking that, okay, well, she's won 2 French Opens. She's going to be very difficult to beat on the clay. For other tournaments and other surfaces, in Grand Slams anyway, people are thinking, well, she might be a little bit vulnerable. Now, on the grass, that might still be a work in progress, but she will get there. I'm telling you, she'll get there. Whether she wins one, who knows? But I would imagine she will. But she'll definitely start going deep in the tournament as she gets older and older. But on the hard courts, I think there's so many tournaments, and she would have got used to playing on those surfaces. It was just a matter of time until it really clicked in a Grand Slam. Now, I said in my preview, I did on my review, even that I did with Amy Lundy. Go check that out if you haven't done so already, which is like a full review of the whole tournament, men's and women's. That I don't think Iga Swiatek played her best tennis. Now, she made a lot of first serves, got a lot of 3 points. Her forehand is heavy as it always is. Backhand's extremely solid. She's able to transition quite well as well. She's been working on that. Working on, of course, flattening out her forehand, more acceleration through the ball. And that's been really effective on these quicker courts, like the hard courts, even the grass at times as well. Although she didn't really have a lot of time to adjust to the grass, I think was the issue. So what I would also say is that for Iga Swiatek, this is a massive step now for her to go on and potentially kick on even further to greater heights, because she's now won a Grand Slam in a hard court tournament. For me, she's now got the confidence of, I'm not only able to dominate a Roland Garros, but I can dominate any Grand Slam because I am the best player on tour, and by quite a margin as well. If we look at the points, like, she's miles ahead at number one, and she's clearly been the standout player. So there's a lot to kind of unpack there. But in terms of more of a technical point of view, what I would say is for Iga Swiatek, she's the type of player who continually is learning and improving, and she really has clearly been working on her craft. And look, I mean, her forehand is this has got better and better. It's an extreme grip, but it works for her. It really does. And her timing is very, very good off the ground. The backhand, I think, has always been very solid, but the forehand generally now, not only can she hit it with good coverage and high topspin, but she can flatten it out. She hits a very heavy ball. There was that stat at Roland Garros where they were saying that she was hitting her forehand as hard as Nadal at the time, which is incredible. And on top of that, she's clearly improving her serve. She's got arguably the best kick serve on tour, you might say. And the first serve is good as well. She's starting to hit her spots better. Her return is natural. And her ability to get around the court is incredible. I mean, her fitness, her ability to chase down balls, to move laterally, and even, also up and down as well in the court is really, really good. And it's something that not a lot of players have. There's a lot of good movers on the women's tour, but not a lot of good movers with all of the attributes to add to that. And Swiatek is one of those players that does have the complete package. So it's scary for the rest of the field, and we'll see now how she gets on for the rest of the year. There's a couple of tournaments, of course, and also then going into 2023. But if you're an Iga fan, there's a lot to be happy about. There's a lot to look forward to because she's so young. She's got a lot of time in front of her, a lot of fantastic wins, I would imagine, in front of her. And I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up on more than 10 slams, because that's kind of where she's now tracking towards at the age of 21 and winning 3 slams. So that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. As long as she stays fit and healthy, I don't see why she couldn't. What I would also say is that for Swiatek, the last point on Swiatek, what also made her victory so impressive was the fact that she clearly wasn't incredibly comfortable with the balls. With the balls that the US Open use. In Cincinnati, of course, they use the same balls. It's the Wilson normal duty balls, and they're different to the ones the men's use, which are extra duty with extra felt. I think I mentioned it in a previous video before. I think for Swiatek's US Open contender profile video. Now, she said prior to the tournament, and has said in the past as well, that she doesn't like using those balls because she feels like she has enough power behind her forehand, enough weight behind her ground strokes, that actually it doesn't underpower her game to have that extra duty ball, which has the extra felt on it, doesn't accelerate as much through the air and off the court. Now, in saying that, she clearly went into it thinking, these balls aren't quite right for me, but she adapted, she adjusted. And despite not being happy with the balls, and in a way, I personally think rightly so, I don't see why the women can't use the same balls as the men, especially given how hard they hit the ball nowadays. Then for me, Swiatek still managed to then adjust and say, well, I'm not going to let this affect my performance at this Grand Slam. I'm going to adjust. I'm going to figure out how to play with these tennis balls so that it works for me, and I'm going to win this thing. And that's exactly what she did. So kudos to her, kudos to her team. Incredible win. And of course, we'll talk about her more as the year goes on, no doubt. And of course, in our annual awards, which I can't wait to do as well. Let's then move on to our runner-up, Ons Jabeur. So Ons Jabeur has had a pretty good year so far herself, but she'll be disappointed to lose 2 Grand Slam finals consecutively at Wimbledon and also now here at the US Open in Flushing Meadows in New York. I was quite impressed, though, by her improvements that she's made personally, because for me, Ons Jabeur even, is a player that her game is mainly suited to the grass or the clay. 2 extremes, I know, but 2 surfaces that she just seems to be able to play better on. Just her game translates better onto those surfaces. She has, of course, a very diverse game. And I do feel like on the hard courts, the gap closes between herself and others. And I feel like most players on tour are most comfortable on a hard court. So for Ons, it's, definitely, for me anyway, I didn't have massive expectations of her going into the tournament. I thought she might make a quarterfinal, maybe make a semi-final, but I didn't expect her to make the final. So the fact that she did, I thought was really impressive, considering her best result at the US Open before this was, guess when? Third round. Third round. She made the quarterfinals of the Australian Open in 2020, which is, we're talking about a long time ago, 2 years ago. And, the fact that now she's gone runner-up at Wimbledon, runner-up at US Open, to me means that she's going in the right direction. There's a few tweaks to her game, and I think the biggest one has been her willingness to play different styles depending on who the opponent is. I feel like in the past she's maybe played one way, or played the way that she wants without actually catering in what her opponent brings to the table. Well, that's what it looks like anyway. And I feel like she does improvise quite a bit as well, and that's why you see her coach really go at her at times, and say to her, like, "What are you doing?" and get really frustrated. And Jabeur's not complaining because I think she probably knows she's being a bit cheeky and she's going off on a little bit of a tangent in the way that she's playing. But she is that type of magical player who has those types of moments of genius, but she also has those moments of madness where you just think, why is she trying to play a drop shot from 2 meters behind the baseline? Right? It's just, that's craziness. So I think she's managed to start organizing her game better. She's still got all those attributes. She's still got, the slicing and dicing and the drop shots and the lobs, but also she can flatten out the ball and hit big from the back of the court with a backhand and forehand, and her backhand's very, very solid as well. Her first serve is big and she gets easy points off it. She knows when to now utilize her tools at different times, and I feel like her shot selection is a lot better. Her second serve still needs some work, no doubt. Her returning is, on the whole, pretty good. But her second serve definitely does still need some work, no doubt. And the reason why it needs a lot more work than maybe some other players is the fact that she doesn't make a lot of first serves. Her first serve percentage can be between like 40 to 55%, and that's pretty normal for her. So either she needs to make a lot more first serves, and then she still needs to work on a second serve, but it's kind of, it papers over the cracks a little bit, or she now needs to bulk up a second serve and also needs to figure out why she's not making as many first serves as she'd like, because whether that means taking 5 miles per hour off the first serve but making your spots, does she do that? Is there a technical flaw? There's something that's not quite right with her first serve that means that she struggles to consistently make a lot of first serves into play. So something to look at. But look, again, coming up against Iga Swiatek, she's just too strong for her. She was in the final. Way too experienced. She's a final master. Ons Jabeur is not. In all honesty, she's not. She's great in semi-finals. They're talking about it after the semi-final win, but in finals, she struggles really and she does. She struggles to actually win those big finals, and Swiatek is just so comfortable. And that second set, it was topsy-turvy, as back and forth, and she managed to pull it back in the first set and then gave it away. Clearly not playing her best tennis, but neither was Swiatek. And it was just a case of she came up against someone who's playing much better right now, much better this year. And she might then look back to the Wimbledon loss and think that was a big missed opportunity, because I think it was against Raducanu, where she lost in 3 sets because she went into that the favourite and probably should have won if she played her better tennis. But some encouraging signs if you're an Ons fan going forward for the rest of the year and also for 2023, because the fact she's made 2 finals, she now has been there, she's done it. The next step is to win one, but she'll be hungry. She'll be hungry to win one for sure. Then we're going to talk about some of the other players. So I'm going to mention a few others, quickly go into their US Opens and how they played, and also I'll talk about some former champions and how they got on as well. Of course, for Swiatek, I think you can argue that she may have met expectations, given that a lot of people expected her to win, but a lot of people didn't either. So I would say she exceeded expectations just. For Ons Jabeur, the same. I didn't expect her to make the finals, so for me, she exceeded expectations. Then we can talk about some other players who actually exceeded expectations. Sabalenka, repeating her semi-final result from last year, losing to Swiatek in 3 sets, played some really good tennis though, beat Danielle Collins and Kanepi, a couple of other good players as well on the way, and she was 4-2 up in that 3rd set, so she'll be disappointed to lose that final set to Iga Swiatek, and who knows, it could have been a very different final with Sabalenka and Jabeur. Who knows who wins that? But she has looked like she is close to her best, and that's great to see. She's crunching the ball from the back of the court. She's confident. She's serving less doubles, a lot more unreturnables. Not a huge amount of aces, as many as you'd think, but she's becoming. I think she's adjusted her game slightly to be a slightly more percentage player, but not so much that she becomes a pusher, but not not so little that she's still not a real ball basher really from the back of the court. And that's kind of what she is, and in the similar mold to Serena. And talking of Serena, I mean, her swan song, her farewell, of course, tournament from what we know anyway. And she went out with a bang, of course, beating Kontaveit in an incredible match, the number 2 seed, and then losing to Tomljanovic, who played some incredible tennis on the day. Serena just fought off match points, kept on fighting and fighting and fighting. She is the greatest woman of all time, in my opinion, and her accolades are incredible. And in those matches, despite only playing whatever it was, 5 or 6 matches before the US Open, she really showed her class, her just clear determination and doggedness, and showed us what we were going to miss when she's gone, because she's not only power personified, she's got one of the best first serves on tour, if not ever, in my opinion. Her return is aggressive, stepping in. The way that she volleys as well, very comfortable, great composure. She's so athletic as well, generally. It's great to see someone like her do as well as she's done, from where she's come from as well. So an incredible, incredible career, and a very entertaining run whilst it lasted, for sure. Then we can talk about some other players. So, I mean, Sakkari went out early. That was disappointing. Same with Badosa as well. Both those players. I did say before the tournament, actually, that those two and Kontaveit, I didn't expect to even make the quarterfinals. That's exactly what happened. I know Kontaveit came up against an inspired Serena, fine, but Badosa and Sakkari, I mean, not great results for them, and they will, I imagine, fall outside the top 10 potentially if they don't pick up some important, vital wins and runs come the end of the year. So that's a few players, of course, talked about, but someone that I want to mention and give maybe a little bit of a shout out to is Jessica Pegula. So she lost in the quarterfinals to Iga Swiatek, but she's been one of the most consistent players this year on tour. She lost to the eventual winner in Iga Swiatek, and it was a tight-ish one in the end, 6-3, 7-6. And again, she'll be slightly disappointed to lose the way she did. She was a breakup, if I'm not mistaken, in the second set, sorry, even, and gave it away. Although I think she'd flipped the script against Swiatek in that one. She was actually a breakup and then obviously recovered. So that was intriguing. But look, great win for it was a great win even, sorry, for Swiatek, and propelled her then, of course, to win the title. But Pegula has a couple of things to iron out. Serve, especially, I'd like to see her come forward, but she's a power base, and I don't think she's going to. But at least some improvements to just take it to that next level. Caroline Garcia, of course, making the semifinals and losing to Ons Jabeur in straight sets. I mean, it was a comprehensive beating by Ons Jabeur, but Caroline Garcia doesn't have a great head-to-head against the Tunisian anyway. But not just that, I think maybe she was feeling a little bit of fatigue as well. She plays a very, very high-intensity style of tennis, and she's played a lot of tennis recently as well, of course, winning Cincinnati. So, look, she definitely didn't play her best, and I think, Ons Jabeur obviously would have contributed to that. But yeah, for Garcia, a fantastic run to semi-final. She makes the top 10 this week as well, so that's great. So looking forward to seeing more of her. And yeah, Azarenka against Masters was an interesting one. 6-3, 6-love. Azarenka, of course, a very interesting figure, no doubt. But I'm intrigued to know now what the rest of the WTA ranking is going to look at come the end of the year, because it's just going to be so random, isn't it? Yeah, apart from that, I'm just trying to think. I mean, Kvitova, a lot of people were high on, didn't end up performing because, well, she just didn't, which wasn't surprising to me. Madison Keys as well, similar. She obviously lost to Coco Gauff in a very, very comfortable match for Coco Gauff, but where she played some very good tennis, which is great to see. And yeah, it was a great tournament. It really was. Muguruza got a win or two under her belt, which is great. She's not being in great form. And Badosa lost in the second round, as I was talking about Sakari earlier as well. So there's a lot to unpack here for sure. And I don't know. For the women's side, they always say it's random, but it wasn't really, because this year the women's side was less random than the men's. Seed 1, sorry, even versus seed 5, I think it was. Ons Jabeur. So look, incredible tournament, and the women deserve a real rest and a chance to relax and take it easy. So I'm looking forward to seeing them back in action. But of course, an incredible tournament. And before we wrap it up, let's talk about some former champions. So Osaka ended up losing the first round to Collins pretty tamely. Disappointing to see her get 1 a very hard draw, but 2 just not particularly play as well as I would have liked or hoped. But yeah, for Emma Raducanu, she also had a tough first round against Cornet, ended up losing. And that's not a massive surprise as well. And look, she's a very good player, Cornet, so no massive shame in that, but just not able to replicate any of the form that she found last year at the US Open, of course. For Fernandez, she lost to Samsonova in the second round. And again, just not bringing that form to the table that we normally or did expect of her last year, because there has been a big dip since that US Open final. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to that like button and subscribe if you're new. We'll see you later, and let me know your thoughts on the women's side. Thank you very much. See you.